So welcome What If Naruto was Avengers Initiative Powers Battles El Konoha Ninja Battles movie. Naruto Uzumaki had one dream, to be the greatest ninja in all of the elemental regions. However, this proved to be impossible for the only blonde Uzumaki. Even though his brother-in-law is the co-founder of the village hidden in the leaves. It was physically impossible for him to be a ninja. He was short for a 19-year-old, he didn't have any form of muscle on his body. He was skinny as beanpole, and his chakra reserves were unusually low for an Uzumaki. His chakra network was also screwed up, so even if he could mold and use chakra, he couldn't do jutsus, but giving up was never in his vocabulary. It was this trait that caused Hashirama Senju to see the blonde as not only a brother-in-law, but as an actual little brother, which made this harder for the founder and first Hokage. I am sorry Naruto, but there isn't anything I can do about this. Come on Hashi, are you sure there isn't anything? What if I just did seals? You know I am a better seal master than Ne-chan. It was true that Naruto was the best with the theory of seals. He was constantly taking old seals, and redoing them in a way that made the cost less, well costly. He knew of almost all of the seals of the Uzumaki clan, even though he can't do any of them. Some of them he's made numerous upgrades of, or modified them to where they were either much easier to use, or the cost to do them wasn't one's soul. Naruto, you do know that you only know the theory of seals, and while your upgrades so far have been more than promising, you can't perform them. Also, you don't have the chakra to do any of them to be considered a master per se. Naruto was a bit down at this and his head fell limp. However, Naruto's head shot up when he heard the Hokage speak. There's a ninja who has seek refuge in our village. He has a fuinjutsu that may hell. I'll take it. Naruto jumped in. Now, it is a highly experimental jutsu, so I cannot guarantee a success, so it is a major chance, Hashirama stated, but this didn't cause the fire to die in Naruto's eyes. I reiterate, I'll take it. If this is the only chance I have at becoming a ninja, then so be it. He pumped his fist in the air. Hashirama chuckled. It's hard to see how you and Mito-chan are twins. You're like the polar opposite of her. Hashirama chuckled again. Naruto joined in as well. While Mito was more calm and collected, he was wild and unruly. Well, we are fraternal twins, Naruto stated. Well, in any case, I will speak to the ninja about the jutsu, and I will send a messenger to your apartment, Naruto nodded. Thanks. I'll see you around Hashi. With that Naruto left the office. A few days later, Naruto was excited about today. For today was the day that he tries the new jutsu that could give him the chance he needs of being a ninja. He made his way through a large building. He found his way to a large steel door that was guarded by a couple of ninjas. He showed them his ID scroll, and they let him through. Once the door was open, that is, everyone stopped what they were doing to stare at the blonde newcomer. A grin appeared on his whisker-marked cheeks. He waved awkwardly. Ah, you must be Naruto. A man came up to the blonde. He stood about a few inches taller than Naruto, slightly aged, but seemed like he could still hold his own in a fight. Yeah, that's me. Naruto grinned once again. And you must be Yamagatsu-san. Yes, well if you would just lie down here. The man gestured to an area on the floor with a number of seals scattered about. They were all strange to the blonde. He knew of every seal in the Uzumaki library, but this was alien to him, so this meant that the seal before him was not of the Uzumaki design. Okay. Naruto laid down over the seals, getting comfortable. Now, this will cause a lot of pain, Yamagatsu explained. What exactly will this do, Doc? Naruto asked the question that has been on his mind. He knew it could help him be a ninja, but that's all that he knows. The man looked around to check on the situation. His assistants were still setting up, so he had time to explain the jutsu's effects. Right, well, in theory it will give you an immense amount of chakra, superhuman strength and speed, as well as almost instant regeneration of both cells and chakra. So that means that I can use high-costing jutsus and in a few moments use more? The blonde asked. Correct, but in theory of course. He left the blonde to his own thoughts. Oh wow, Hashi didn't tell me about that. If this works, I could be a super ninja. The blonde couldn't help but get excited about that. Soon, the ninja was back. Are you ready? Naruto nodded. Good. He faced his companions. Let's begin. The four ninja that were on each corner of the squared seal began to run through a lot of hand signs. Once done, they all put both hands on each corner of the seal, which began to glow. Then Yamagatsu, who was running through more seals than the four ninja, placed his hands on both of the blonde's shoulders. The seal began to crawl towards the blonde and to the spot where the ninja's hands were placed. That is when the pain started. Ah! Naruto cried out, feeling the burning sensation running through his body, the glowing seal taking its time to reach the blonde's shoulders. Mito, who was there for support of her twin, grew horrified. Stop the jutsu, she cried out. Yamagatsu was about to pull his hands away, but Naruto spoke. No, don't. I can do this. The ninja then returned to focusing his chakra for the jutsu. Mito was still worried. but she felt the arm of her husband soon wrapped around her. "Don't worry, Mito-chan. Naruto is the very embodiment of the will of fire." She nodded, but was still worried of her brother's safety. It felt like an eternity of pain for the blonde, but it was over in about 30 minutes. He opened his eyes to see not only Yamagatsu, but the others standing over him as well, all with shocked looks on their faces. He was helped up by Hashirama, who shocked by the blonde's change in appearance. Mito soon approached him. She was shocked by how highly muscular her brother now looked. "How do you feel?" "Taller," Naruto breathed out while looking around. Before he was only about 5 foot 2 inches, now the blonde was roughly an amazing 6 foot 5 inches. He also had rippling muscles, and a six-pack that would make any woman drool, which is what a female ninja, who was one of the 4 to help with the seal, was doing. "Well, you do look taller." She then noticed the seal on the back of his left shoulder. "Yamagatsu-san, is that the seal?" The man studied what she was looking towards, then nodded. "Yes, that is the seal of the technique." The seal in question was a small swirl, with several coma-like marks in between the swirl's lines. Naruto was then given a shirt to wear, then lead out of the area. "Yamagatsu-san," Hashirama called, once the two were alone. "Yes, Hokage-sama?" the man asked the newly appointed Hokage. "Would it be possible to use that technique on other ninja?" the Shodai Hokage questioned. "I do not know, the technique takes so much out of me that I doubt I could do the jutsu again. However, that boy seems to be special, maybe if I am given time to rest, but it is hard to say." The Hokage just nodded. Hashirama wasn't around to hear the ninja cough. When the coughing stopped he could see blood in his hands. He grew worried, but hid the fact from the ones around him. He was dying. 1.5 years later, Naruto was currently trying out a new seal that he had created. In theory the seal may be placed anywhere, thus allowing him to appear in that spot or place. It was far from complete, but it was one of the seals that he had created before he obtained the sealing mark that enables him to be a quote super ninja. While Naruto didn't really feel much different, the same cannot be said about his abilities. Now that he has use of chakra, the ability to mold that chakra, an unlimited source of chakra, superhuman strength as well as speed, and a regeneration ability that allows him to recreate cells and chakra. Thanks to his previous knowledge of the Uzumaki clan seals, he is able to do any and all seals that he has studied. In a short time, he has obtained full use of his strength and speed, as well as utilizing the taijutsu of the Uzumaki clan. He also mastered chakra control. This took some time, but it wasn't impossible for the super ninja. It seemed to be an unknown side effect of the technique. In the year and HLAF of his time as a ninja he had obtained a title, one that is known throughout the ninja world. This title was taken from his ninja rank, Captain Konoha, mostly from his love for his village, and the fact that he is as strong, if not stronger, than his brother-in-law, the first Hokage. He was currently in a training area that his brother-in-law created just for him. It was filled with highly dangerous animals, as well as several deadly plants. Most ninjas, even the highly acclaimed Uchiha, are too scared to set foot in this forest. Naruto called it his home away from home, but others called it the Forest of Death. A newly appointed Chunin, who was scared, braved her way through the forest to give a message to the super ninja. She found him in a clearing doing some kind of training. Upon seeing him without a shirt she did what most women did when seeing him. She blushed. His long-sleeved blue shirt was discarded onto the ground, as well as his Jonin vest. "You know, not many people come into my forest," Naruto called without actually acknowledging the ninja. "So you are either brave or stupid." He turned to face the woman. When he did, his breath caught in his throat. She was probably the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. Long straight violet hair, chocolate brown eyes. Even though she wore the standard Chunin uniform, light green vest and navy blue pants, he could tell that she possessed an impressive body. She took control of herself and spoke. "Captain Uzumaki, I have a message for you from your sister." Naruto was slightly stunned by how angelic-like her voice sounded. He shook it off. "Well, what is it that my sister wants?" "I don't know, Captain, please. Call me Naruto," he interrupted. "Naruto," she corrected herself. "As I said, I don't know what it is that she wants. She is at the Senju estate." "Thank you, Ms." He trailed off wanting her to finish the sentence. "Azuki, Saya Azuki," she finished for him, with a slight blush. "That's a beautiful name, Saya-chan." After adding the suffix, the girl's blush increased, while Naruto did this with everyone, giving them some kind of nickname or suffix. The girl did not know this and wasn't prepared for the situation. "Thank you, Naruto-kun." After the sentence left her lips she covered her mouth, while trying to hide her blush. I should go." Without saying any more, she left the area, leaving a blushing Naruto. While Naruto was just being polite, he was still trying to get used to that reaction from girls. He thought about the ninja's message though, rather than how she acted towards him. His sister wanted to see him. Why was that? Guess he'll go find out. He slipped on his shirt and his Jonin vest. He then made his way towards the Senju estate. A few minutes later, Naruto arrived at the estate. He walked into the house after checking the area. They are on the verge of a war, Ne-chan. Naruto called out. In here, Ni-san, he heard the voice of his sister coming from a bedroom. When he walked in, she was in bed. He could see her bulging stomach. He knew she was pregnant with his niece or nephew. She was probably about 6 months along, but he also took notice of the scared look on her face. What's wrong? It's Hashi-kun. He went off to do battle with Madara, she stated frantic. Madara? I thought the Senju clan was on good terms with the Uchiha. Naruto was slightly confused. I don't know what is going on, but Hashi-kun went out to face him, she stated. Do you know where they might be? He asked, ready to go off to assist his brother-in-law. I just know that they are at the edge of the Fire Country border. Where exactly I do not know, she said while tears were welling up in her eyes. She wished she could help her husband, but due to her being bedridden due to the pregnancy, she is powerless. Don't worry, Ne-chan. I'll go and make sure he gets back safely. Naruto gave a thumbs up. Thank you. She could now rest soundly, knowing that her brother was going. She knew her husband would be all right. Naruto left the estate and made his way towards his apartment. He lived alone. He preferred it this way. On his way he ran into a friend of his, Hiruzen Sarutobi and Danzo Shimura. The two 12-year-olds were close friends of his, as well as his unofficial students in SEALs. Hashirama and Tobirama, Hashirama's little brother, saw potential in the young Sarutobi. Naruto also saw him as a potential SEAL master. Naruto's other unofficial student while a potential SEAL master as well. Naruto feared that a darkness may lay within the boy. Naruto-sensei, the two called at the same time. Naruto stopped for a moment to speak with the boys, but he was in a rush. Hey guys. Sorry I can't talk right now. Do you have a mission? Hiruzen asked with stars in his eyes. Even Danzo had an impressed look in his young beady eyes. Not really, Hashi needs some assistance, but that's all I can say. He bid them farewell then set off for his apartment. What do you think he means by that? Hiruzen asked his friend. Danzo shrugged. We are upon a war, that is what father says, the boy answered. I'll lighten up Danzo, with Naruto-sensei I am sure everything will be fine. The boy grinned at his friend, who grew a bit annoyed. Naruto soon made it to his apartment. Once inside he began to gather the necessary equipment. A large weapons pouch which allowed him to carry the numerous scrolls for some of his fuinjutsus. It also held many kunai and shuriken, as well as rations and other things he would or might need for this mission. He then slipped on his helmet, green like his vest, as well as having the spiraling leaf that was the village's symbol. The front had a mask-like design added. This was so that his enemies wouldn't know who he was really. They just knew him as Captain Konoha. Then he grabbed his signature weapon. A round shield that was made out of a rare metal amongst the 5 great nations. It had the ability to absorb vibrations. He could also focus his wind chakra into the shield as well. This made the shield more dangerous than it would be normally. It had green and navy blue circles painted onto it, as well as the leaf symbol in the middle of the shield. The paint was slightly scratched indicating that the shield was used in many battles. With the shield strapped to his back Naruto made his way to the newly built gates of Konoha. The border. Naruto grew worried as he neared the border to the Fire Country. He could feel an immense amount of demonic chakra being used. However, he knew he had the right spot. He saw the many broken trees and tree stumps within the area. When he arrived he called out to his friend, Hashirama. Naruto? Hashirama called confused. He tried to split his focus between battling and talking to his friend. However he couldn't, for the Kyuubi no Kitsune was about to fire a massive attack at the Hokage. Naruto reacted immediately. He ran through a series of hand signs and jumped in front of his friend. Once done with the seals he grabbed his shield and focused his chakra. The chakra flowed around the shield then grew in size, roughly about 40 feet in diameter. The blast from the attack made impact with the huge chakra shield. The beam split in two, going on either side of the shield. Need some help? Naruto asked with a grin, even though he was having a hard time keeping the chakra shield steady. What are you doing here? Hashirama asked, while molding his chakra. Ne-chan sent me. She thought you might need some help, didn't think you did, but you know how she worries. He chuckled a bit, then he grew serious. So, what's the situation? He has the Kyuubi under control with his Sharingan. Every time I try to sever the connection, I have to avoid its tails. Hashirama explained to the blonde super ninja. The attack soon ended. Then Naruto took his shield down and cancelled the jutsu. The two stood side by side with serious looks on their faces. Think you can distract the Kyuubi? Naruto asked. I'll try. Are you going to sever Madara's hold on the beast? Naruto's friend questioned. Yeah, I'll also try to seal it within me. That way you can win for sure, Naruto stated. But before Hashirama could argue, Naruto took off for Madara. The Kyuubi was about to stop him with a claw swipe, but a tree grew out of the ground and wrapped itself around the beast's arm. Naruto used the tree to get access to the beast, where he ran up to face Madara. The Uchiha glared at the super ninja as he made his approach. Naruto created a shadow clone, a technique he created. The doppelganger remained behind the original, it was currently going through hand signs. Madara flung his giant fan at the blonde, who blocked it with his shield. Madara knew what the blonde was planning, but he wasn't going to let the jutsu happen. He took out a kunai and flung it at the clone. The kunai had destroyed the clone, but the Uchiha didn't take into account the possibility of Naruto creating a second clone, which is why he was surprised when he felt a slap on his back, as well as his control on the Kyuubi being severed. The beast began to thrash, sending the two fighting shinobi on its head off. When Madara landed, he had to go on the defensive, for Hashirama started to attack the Uchiha. Naruto created about 100 clones to keep the large beast busy. He needed time to perform a powerful seal that he had modified. Not only would it seal the beast within him, but also would give him access to the demon's chakra. If he wanted that, it was once a dangerous sealing technique, but Naruto modified it. The payment wasn't one's soul, but all the user's chakra, since he had the ability to reattain his chakra. Even if it is all gone, it may take longer, but he was confident that it would help in this case. As the last clone went out, Naruto felt the cold presence of the death god behind him. A strange arm made out of chakra shot out of Naruto's stomach and grabbed hold of the Ninetales. The beast tried in vain to fight off the grip of the death god. But it was useless. Soon the Kyuubi was turned into red chakra. Then it was pulled into Naruto's stomach, who could feel the pool of his endless chakra start to shrink as the death god started to take his payment. Naruto struggled to remain awake. He was in more pain than when he went through the super ninja jutsu. Soon all of the Kyuubi's chakra was absorbed and sealed within Naruto. The pain soon proved to be too much for the blonde, for he soon passed out. His vest and shirt had a large hole in it. The seal of the technique could be seen as smoke was still coming off the area. Several days later, Naruto shot up with a start. He immediately went for his shield to find it not to be on his person. He took in his surroundings to find that he was in a hospital. "You're up," a voice called. Naruto looked towards the door to see Hashirama and Tobirama standing there. "Hashi, Tobi, what's going on?" Naruto asked. "You're in the hospital. You passed out after absorbing the Nine Tails," Hashirama explained. He himself was covered in bandages, while Naruto was only in a hospital gown. The two approached the first Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Naruto began to message his head to try and remember what happened in the previous battle. Soon it all came back to him. "I used the Reaper Death Seal to seal the Kyuubi inside myself, right?" The two nodded. "Well, did you win, Hashi?" The man nodded. "Yes, Madara is dead," he stated grimly. Naruto nodded. "Why did he challenge you?" Hashirama shrugged. "I have no idea, but we have more important things to talk about," Hashirama stated. Naruto nodded. "The war." The Senju brothers both nodded grimly. "Even though I divided up the Biju to separate nations to try and incorporate peace, they're still seeking more power. We are going to need every available ninja to fight this war." Naruto nodded. "You can count me in. I am ready to go." Hashiram shook his head. "Naruto, you need to relearn your chakra control. You know that, right?" The blonde super ninja looked down. He nodded. With the new source of chakra, the blonde will have to re-establish his chakra control. He might have to sit the start of the war out, maybe even the whole war itself, but knowing Naruto, he may end up joining in whether he is ready or not. "In any case, you are free to leave the hospital whenever you'd like," Tobirama stated. Naruto nodded. It was a known fact among the three that the blonde did not like hospitals. He got out of the bed. He motioned for the brothers to leave, in which they did. Then he began to get dressed. It was when Naruto was clad only in his pants that his door flew open. "Naruto-kun?" A familiar angelic voice called out. The blonde turned to see a blushing Saya. "Saya-chan? What are you doing here?" The blonde questioned, confused. She shook her head to refocus. "I came to check on you. Are you all right?" "I am fine. There is no need to worry," he answered. She nodded. Then she looked down to the floor, a huge blush on her face. She seemed to be having an internal battle with herself. Then she nodded her head. "And Naruto-kun, would you like to get something to eat with me sometime?" she asked, but it was more like she blurted it out. Naruto was shocked. This was something he was still trying to get used to. What could he say? There was war on the horizon and he needed to focus all of his time on chakra control as well as utilizing the demonic chakra that was now within him. "I am sorry, but I can't right now." The girl seemed heartbroken, but Naruto hurried to continue. "But, if you're willing to wait until my training is done, I'd be happy to take you out dancing or something." This made the woman before him blush even more. How long will that be?" "I don't know. I am going to try and make it as short as possible, but maybe a year or two," he stated. "That long?" Saya was shocked by the length. "You don't have to wait for me if you don't want to," Naruto admitted. She was at a loss on what to do. If she waited that long, what would she be missing out on? However, she was attracted to the blonde, and he seemed to be everything she ever wanted in a man. "I'll wait, it's fine," she stated. Naruto smiled at the girl's answer. "Great," he gave her a grin. "You'll be the first to know when I am done." She smiled and nodded. "I hope your training goes well. I look forward to hearing from you." With that, she left the blonde to continue getting dressed. 3.5 years later, Naruto let loose a red chakra claw at the nearby trees. The claw ripped right through the trees, turning them all to stumps. Naruto himself was encased in a red cloak of chakra taking the form of a fox. Swishing behind him was 3 tails, of all the time that he had spent inside the forest of death. This was the farthest he could get with the demonic chakra. Any further and he would lose control, unless he made a deal with the fox. That would include letting the fox free, or altering the seal. Naruto wasn't going to have any of that, so he opted to try and control the chakra without the demon's permission, but he could only control 3 tails worth of power. As bad as it sounds, it's still pretty impressive. In addition to controlling the demon's chakra, Naruto got his chakra control back to the way it was before he sealed the Kyuubi within himself. It was the first thing he did, and it took his whole focus. So much so that he stayed in the forest of death more than he did in his one apartment. He would train himself to near exhaustion before collapsing to the ground. Several times, he had the help of his shadow clones. After creating the technique, he found several uses for the doppelgangers. One was for information gathering, which is what most ninja might use it for. Another would be to relay a message to an individual. He originally created them with the idea to transfer memories as well as chakra control. He had this in mind for training, and found that only one with chakra as high as his could use the technique for training. So the clones helped in both chakra control and controlling the demon chakra. The bad things about his training was that he didn't get to see the birth of his nephew. He also missed out on the start of the Shinobi War. And he heard from Tobirama that Hashirama died a warrior's death. And that he, Tobirama, was now Hokage. Naruto was angry when he heard the news of his friend's death. So much so that he almost lost control of the demon chakra. That was when he realized that he needed to control his emotions. That is what he started on after Hashirama's funeral. He wished he didn't have so much training to do, mostly because he wanted to help his sister as much as possible. The training was important though, and Mito insisted that he finish it. For Hashirama at least, he was also told that Hiruzen and Danzo have been promoted to Jonin and are a part of the second Hokage's team. The next part made Naruto angry with Tobirama, the fact that the Nidaime Hokage had established a council made up of both shinobi and civilian. During wartime, should the Hokage be away, the council gained power to make decisions as if they were Hokage. This pissed Naruto off, so much so that Tobirama had to leave the forest of death so the blonde could blow off steam. Which is where we found the blonde super ninja now. Tobirama had to go lead his team on a mission to assist with the front lines. Which meant that the council now had the power to do whatever they wanted to. As long as it was for the good of the village, Naruto had a meeting with them. And like before every meeting with the council, Naruto would blow off some steam. Naruto didn't like the civilian side of the council, some on the shinobi side didn't either, while others admired the blonde. They always seemed to try and send the blonde on suicide missions. Ever since he got control of the demon chakra, the council saw him as a threat, so whenever the Nidaime was away, they would send the blonde on a mission that he should return from. While Naruto was never officially done with his training until now, they still sent him on missions. After his meeting with the council, he planned on searching to see if Saya was in the village. If she was, he wanted to try and plan that date he promised. That is, if she hadn't moved on. If she did, then he would just wish her luck and move on himself. If she hasn't, then hopefully she would still want to go dancing with him at least. He decided that it was bound time that he made his way to the meeting, didn't want to keep the idiots waiting. He jumped to the trees and set off for the council meeting. At the meeting, the doors to the council room opened. "You're late," stated one of the councilmen. "Sorry, to keep you waiting," the blonde stated monotonously. "Whatever, let's begin. Captain Uzumaki, you are to go to the land of snow," the head councilman stated. "What for?" Naruto stated, bored. "You are to take out a team of ninja that have targeted an ally village of ours," the councilman stated, trying to not let the blonde get to him. It was then that Naruto noticed something. "Hey, where is the shinobi side of the council?" "That is of no concern of yours. You are to leave immediately for this mission," the head of the council stated. Naruto was now suspicious, but he couldn't argue with the council. They did hold the same authority as Tobirama did. The blonde bowed. He then made his way out of the council chambers. When the blonde was gone, the councilman spoke to a shadowed figure. All that could be seen was the symbol on the metal plate of a headband, a rock symbol. "Be sure that he does not return." He received no reply, for the figure soon vanished. Naruto made his way to where Saya lived. He had to ask around, But he soon found her apartment. He took a deep breath and knocked on the door. It was a few moments, but soon a very beautiful purple-haired woman answered the door. Once she saw who it was, she squealed and hugged the super ninja. Good to see you too, was all Naruto got out. I assume that you're done with your training? She asked. Yep, and you know why I am here, right? She nodded, but there is something that I gotta tell you first. She looked confused. I got a mission that I have to do first. She nodded, a bit disappointed. That's fine, we can go dancing after your mission, she stated. Great, it should take me long a week tops, she nodded. Alright, they just opened up this new dance club. Meet me there next Saturday at 8 o'clock sharp, and don't you dare be late. You got it. She then did something that he wasn't expecting. She kissed him. It was not only the blonde's first kiss, but a passionate one at that. Come back. Okay. Naruto nodded. She then went back into her apartment, while Naruto was left to walk home in a daze. He almost forgot to go home and grab his gear. Once he did though, he made his way to get the mission done as fast as possible. With his shield strapped to his back, he turned towards the newly formed Hokage mountain. He looked to the finished head of Hashirama and gave it a thumbs up. He then noticed that they began constructing a head for Tobirama. He couldn't wait to see that. Naruto would have done things differently if he had known what was going to happen to him while on this mission. He would have told the council to stuff it, and gone out with Saya that very night. However, the blonde super ninja did not foresee the truth behind this mission until it was too late. However, the council did not expect him to return. He didn't, at least not for some time. By then the council members would be dead and gone, so when he would return, he would have no one to blame. Not that he would anyway, but that isn't for some time now. 70 years later, Hokage-sama, and Anbu called out when he entered the office. What is it, bull? The aged Hiruzen Sarutobi asked. A message from the princess of the land of snow. She says they found something. The Sandaime Hokage looked confused. What could be so important that he had to get interrupted during his one and only break from paperwork? An Anbu team was sent to check it out to make sure that it was important. And, what did you find? The Hokage asked. Well, the Anbu didn't know how to tell the Hokage. Maybe it was best if he checked it out for himself. I think you better come in person, Hokage-sama. You'd have to see for yourself. With a confused look, the Hokage followed the Anbu towards the hospital. Naruto's eyes snapped open. His senses indicated that he was in a hospital. Yet something was off. When he looked towards the stinging sensation in his arm, his eyes widened. He had some kind of tube in his arm, leading to some kind of bag with clear liquid inside. Naruto sat up and yanked the tube out. He also saw that he had some wires stuck to his chest that was hooked to some kind of machine. When he yanked the wires off his person, the machines began to make loud noises. The blonde covered his ears to block it out. Then 2 orderlies rushed in. They immediately tried to stop the blonde. But Naruto shoved past them and ran out the door they came in. He saw he was in some kind of weird hospital. He could tell by all the bandaged people. He rushed past nurses and ninjas, not even stopping to see what symbol was on their headband. The blonde then found his way out into the streets of the strange place that he was in. He looked around, not recognizing any of the buildings around him. That is when he saw the mountain. He knew of 2 of the figures' heads that were supposed to be there, but it was the additional 2 heads that shocked the blonde super ninja. He stood stunned. He knew where he was, but was he really there? At ease, son, an aged voice called. Naruto turned to see an old man in Hokage robes. He had the same hairstyle of some he knew, but couldn't place. You've been asleep, Cap, for almost 70 years. The man announced. Naruto decided to take a guess. Hiruzen. The man nodded. That's when the monk's words registered in his mind. He looked towards where he knew Saya's apartment would be. When he did, he grew a grim look. Are you going to be okay? Hiruzen questioned. Yeah, Naruto breathed, still looking out into the distance. Yeah, he grew depressed. I had a date. What should she do? What should she say to her husband? These were the thoughts of Makoto Uchiha. Why would these be her thoughts? Well, because she was no longer in love with her husband. That ended around the same time that she heard about the coup d'etat, the plan of the Uchiha to overthrow the Yondaime Hokage, and take control of Konoha. She did not agree with this. She had told her husband that if he were to go through with this, then she would never love him again. So be it, was his answer. After she said that, she cried. What she didn't know was that she had caught the attention and attraction of the soon-to-be king of Asgard. He had taken upon a mortal form to get closer to her. And closer they did become. When she first met him, she didn't know what to think. No man, not even her husband, treated her the way this man had treated her. Like a queen. Soon she was sneaking off to be with this man. Things were going great for them. Only she had to tell her husband about it now, because she was pregnant with a child that was not Fugaku's, but a child that was the god of thunder. This she later found out. The information shocked her of course, but after seeing his godly form, she saw the perks. "What should I do, Thor?" she asked the man who was currently holding her. He held her at arm's length to stare lovingly at her. "Come with me, my love." "To Asgard." The taller man nodded. I am to be crowned king soon, and I do need a queen." He then kissed the top of her hand. "But what about Fugaku and his plan?" she asked. "He hath made his choice, the way I see it, you are no longer bound to him," he answered. "But what of Itachi? He is so young, and I fear for his safety." She spoke of her son that she had with Fugaku. While she no longer held love for her husband, she still loved her son. "He shall come with us, and we shall raise our child there too." He laid his hand upon her now forming stomach. She didn't know what to say. A chance at a new life for her son and her unborn one as well. The offer seemed too good to be true, but she knew that Thor would never lie to her. She wanted to go, so desperately she wanted to. The only thing that was holding her back was her husband, which brings us back to her earlier thoughts. Soon, however, she decided to listen to her heart. "I will go tell him, and get Itachi." Thor smiled. "Wonderful, don't worry about the other things, just bring your son. Asgard shall provide you with the necessities." She nodded. "Will you come with me? I may need your strength," she stated. "Ah, but my love, you are my strength." He kissed the top of her hand again, making her blush. "Let us go." "At the Uchiha compound." "Absolutely not, you are my wife," a man with long black hair stated, glaring at the woman in front of him. "Don't you dare call me that. I stopped being your wife a long time ago." "Fugaku," Makoto stated, glaring back. Meanwhile, outside of the Uchiha main house, Thor was talking to a 5-year-old Itachi. "Can you really do lighting jutsus without hand signs?" the child asked, amazed by the mon's statement. You could consider them as such, but it is all mad possible by this." He held a large hammer and showed it to the boy. "Cool, do you think I could try holding it?" the boy asked, while trying to be polite as well. The tall man chuckled. "I am afraid not, child, for only those worthy of the power of Thor may wield this hammer." The boy seemed downtrodden, but he understood. He turned his head to the door. He could hear the muffled yelling. "My parents are fighting again," he stated. But if all goes well, you shouldn't have to worry about it anymore." Itachi stared at the man confused. This is where the door opened, and Makoto walked out. "Let's go, Thor. Come, Itachi." The boy was about to obey, until his father shouted. "You are not taking my son," he stated firmly. "I will not allow my son to be corrupted by you," she stated with sheer venom in her voice. "Let's go, Thor." "As you wish, my love." The man then held his hammer to the sky, while Makoto held Itachi in her arms, and Thor held her in his. Soon a large lightning bolt struck them, and they were gone. Fugaku couldn't believe his eyes. He wasn't expecting them to just disappear, let alone be struck by lightning. 12 years later, the floors of Asgard were constantly kept clean and waxed. So much so you could see your reflection upon them. This was the case as a 12-year-old boy walked through the great halls of Asgard. His reflection within the floors could be seen clearly. His broad shoulders, impressive muscle tone for a boy his age. Tall, standing at an impressive 5 foot 9 inches. Combat boots were upon his feet, tucked inside were his blue pant legs. A type of armored vest covered his torso, while leaving his arms bare. Guards colored black and red were on his forearms, and upon his head was a helmet. This was no ordinary helmet, however. On either side metal wings protruded, while a piece of the metal on both sides extended to cover his sideburns. His long black hair, which also had natural blonde highlights streaked within the locks, came flowing out of the helmet. This was the same outfit that his father once wore. Speaking of which, his father was the reason he was walking through the halls. His father, who was also the king of Asgard, wanted to see him about something regarding his training. He was at a loss, for he thought his training was completed months ago. Even the warriors 3 could not teach him any more than they already did. His older brother, who was a great warrior and magic user of Asgard, had nothing to teach him of combat and strategies anymore. Even his mother, who taught him lessons from her home village where she was from, had nothing more to teach him. So his question was, what is it that father wishes to teach me? He made it to the throne room, and sitting in the great throne of Asgard was his father, clad in golden robes, with a golden spear-like scepter by his side. He knew that his father's once great weapon, the hammer Mjolnir, was currently in the weapons vault of the palace. He approached his father, took off his helmet, and knelt before him. "You wanted to see me, father?" "Ah, Sasuke, my son, you know you do not have kneel before me," his father stated with a joyful smile on his face. The boy, now known as Sasuke, stood, but left his helmet upon the ground. "As you wish, father." He cleared his throat and reiterated his previous question. "You wanted to see me, father?" The king seemed confused at first, but then smiled. "Ah yes, forgive me. The Odin sleep is near, so I may be a bit slow." The boy nodded. "Sasuke Thorson, I have one final lesson for you. What is it, father? The boy's onyx eyes showed a light of curiosity within them. I cannot tell you the lesson, but it is a much needed one. You are a lot like me in many ways. While it fills me with pride, it also worries me. The boy was confused, but tried not to show it. Now, while my father before me taught me this lesson because I had to learn it, I would like you to learn it as well. Father, what is the lesson I should learn? The boy questioned. I cannot tell you that, my son. I can't even tell you the rewards for learning this lesson, Thor stated, which was confusing to the boy. Father, I do not understand. I am sending you to Midgard. The interruption shocked the boy. Midgard? Sasuke asked, slightly confused. Yes, to your mother's home village, Thor explained. But father, I do not understand. They are mere mortals in. Sasuke, your mother and older brother are mere mortals, Thor interrupted once again. Yes, father, but the ones on Midgard are so petty and tiny, Sasuke stated, trying to hide his disgust. Thor let out a disappointed sigh, as I feared you were like I was. Father? Sasuke, you are going to Midgard, the king stated. But father, I do not. You are going to Midgard, Thor shouted, slamming his staff on the floor, and that is final. And what am I to learn from them, father? Sasuke started. How to slaughter innocents? Or do you wish me to be more petty like them? At this, Sasuke's eyes hardened into a glare. I didn't wish to do this, Sasuke, but you leave me no choice. He slammed his staff onto the ground and they were whisked away to the Rainbow Bridge. He then grew angry, mostly at what he had to do. Father, what? Sasuke, son of Thor, upon questioning my right as king. Belittling the very beings we Asgardians have sworn to protect. At this, he began to rip parts of Sasuke's armor off, as well as the battle cape he wore. I, Thor, the All-Father. In the name of my father and his father before him. Reprieve you of your status and your power. At this, the bridge activated behind Sasuke. I hereby banish you. Before Sasuke could argue, he was shoved by his father into the portal. Thor then held out his hand, and within minutes, a large hammer flew to him. He then held it up to his face, and began to whisper into it, whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. A oval-like design appeared upon the side. After his words, he then threw the hammer into the still open portal. The outskirts of Konoha, Team 8, which consisted of Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and led by Kurenai Yuhi, they were currently on their way back from their first C-rank mission. It went well, but they were all tired, even Kiba, the normal hyperactive one of the group. They were halfway to the gates, when Akamaru began to bark. What is it, boy? Kiba asked his partner, who was riding within his jacket. The dog barked a little more. The sky? He looked to the clear blue sky, but didn't see anything. The others looked up as well. The once blue sky was now darkening. However, it was only dark in one spot. Then a type of tornado-like cloud came down out of the sky, and touched down several yards away from them. As soon as it landed, it retracted back to the sky. Kurenai Yuhi led them over towards the area. She wanted to see what the cloud was about, and she sensed a presence in the area. Hinata had her Byakugan activated, and she could see a figure on the ground ahead of them. When they arrived, they could see a boy or a man. It was hard to tell. He looked young, but he seemed older judging by his size. He wore a sleeveless white shirt, blue slack-like pants, and brown combat boots. His long black hair laid about on the ground. They could also see several golden highlights within his hair. Where did he come from? Kiba asked the question that was on their minds. The boy then groaned, but did nothing else. Kiba helped Shino carry him. We're taking him with us to the village. He may need medical attention, Kurenai stated. The two boys lifted the boy, and found him to be quite heavy. They didn't see the sky darken once again, nor did they see an object fly out of the sky and land rather hardly several miles away from where the boy landed. Konoha Hospital. He felt someone holding on to his arm. That's when he lifted his head and opened his eyes. He saw a man in a white outfit. He smiled at him. Hey there, just taking some blood. The black-haired boy reacted violently. You dare attack the son of Thor? He tore his arm away from the man, then shoved him hard to the ground. Security. The man he shoved shouted. Ninjas soon came into the room and tried to subdue him. The boy shoved them away and pushed past them. It took 3 men just to shove him against the door. They struggled to keep him there. I am Sasuke, son of, and that's when he felt a prick on his butt. Then everything around him went dark. When he awoke for the second time that day, he found that he couldn't move his arms or legs. He looked towards them to see that they were in straps. He tried to rip straps, but found that his strength he once had wasn't there. However, he did found that his hand was slipping out of the left strap. This could work. Team 8 had just given their report to the Sandaime Hokage. When the 3 students were dismissed by their sensei, they decided to check on the boy they had found earlier that day. They arrived at the hospital, and made their way to where he should be. The bed was empty. but seemed as though it was recently occupied. They looked around to see if he may be somewhere, then decided to go in search for the boy. He wasn't in the hospital, but they decided to check around the perimeter of the building. Hinata was about to activate her dojutsu, but hit something that felt like a brick wall, which sent her to the ground. "Forgive me, my lady," she heard a male voice say. When she looked up, she saw the boy that fell out of the sky. He was looking down at her, and had his hand extended. She took the offered the hand, even though she had a blush on her cheeks. "I did not see you there, are you alright?" It's alright. I was the one who ran into you." Normally she did not stutter, but she was embarrassed that she had bumped into him. "Do not worry, I shall make it up to you someday, you have my word." This seemed to make her blush even more. "No, it's alright," she stated. "Very well, I shall go now, my lady," he stated, then kissed the top of her hand. This made her blush more. My name is Hinata." "Well, Lady Hinata, I am called Sasuke." He kissed her hand again. "'Twas a pleasure meeting you." He then decided to walk off, and that is when she noticed that he was still wearing his hospital clothes. "Wait, don't you need clothes?" she called out. The boy, Sasuke, looked at his outfit. "It does appear that my robes are insufficient." He looked to the girl. "Thank you, Lady Hinata. I shall acquire more significant garments." He was about to walk off, until the girl's teammates caught up to her. Kiba called out to the boy, "Hey, buddy, where are you off to?" Sasuke paid no attention to the boy. He merely kept his pace. Hinata decided to explain to him what was going on. "Kiba, he is trying to find some clothes," the girl stated. "Well, I have some clothes that he can have," Kiba suggested. "Sasuke-san, Kiba says he has some clothes you can have," Hinata called out, her speech back to normal. Sasuke stopped and turned to face the trio. He shrugged. "I suppose, if it is of no inconvenience." Kiba was shocked by the way the boy was talking, but he brushed it off. "Okay." He turned to his friends. "Well, let's head to my place." They agreed. Soon Sasuke joined them. In Izuka household, what realm is this? Sasuke asked, slipping on the blue shirt that was given to him. He now wore black pants, and an old pair of shoes of Kiba's. "Realm?" Kiba asked. "Yes, is this Alfheimer, Vanaheimr?" He asked. He feared he was in the realm his father spoke of, but didn't know for sure. Kiba started, confused by the boy. "This is Konoha." "Ah, so father hath sent me to Midgard, but why?" He knew his father spoke of a lesson, but why did he banish him? He was merely speaking his mind, but with his powers gone, he now was no stronger than these Midgardians. What?" Kiba asked. "Nothing, 'tis of no importance. This mortal form has grown weak. I require substance," Sasuke announced. Asgard. Thor could see that his son had made contact with some mortals. He did wish his son luck. He also wished that his son had just gone along with the idea of going to Midgard. Banishing him was not what he wanted to do. Off on the other side of the palace room, Itachi, who was wearing golden battle armor, was standing with his mother. Makoto had on a beautiful golden dress, as well as a type of small golden crown upon her head. "Mother." Itachi got his mother's attention. "Why did father banish Sasuke?" "Itachi, your father does nothing without reason," she stated. He did not want to banish him, but merely have him learn a lesson that cannot be taught. "What is that lesson, mother?" Itachi asked. "Compassion and humility, something that a future king would need." Itachi nodded. He now understood the reason of the banishment. His father was hard-headed, and would not learn anything that he felt wasn't important. Compassion and humility is something that his little brother lacked. "That makes sense, mother," Itachi stated. Konoha. Sasuke was currently on his 6th plate of food. The group was at a restaurant that Kiba liked to go to, on account that they allowed dogs. He, along with the others, were shocked by the boy's appetite. "Where is he putting all this?" Kiba asked to no one in particular. Sasuke finished off his green tea. "This drink I like it," he threw to the floor, smashing the cup. Another. Everyone in the restaurant was staring at him. "Sasuke, you don't do that," Hinata scolded, getting up to clean the mess. "If you want another drink, you just ask." "I did," he chuckled. "No, you ask nicely, you don't throw the cup onto the floor," she scolded. "I meant no disrespect," Sasuke replied. "Just don't do it again," Hinata stated, finishing cleaning the mess. "You have my word," he stated, which was making Hinata blush a bit, but she tried to shake it off. "Man, this guy is pretty intense," Kiba stated, while Akamaru agreed. "Friend Kiba, why is it that you let that beast ride in your robes?" Sasuke asked, curious of the dog-loving boy. "Say what?" Kiba asked, confused, while Hinata couldn't help but giggle. Outskirts of Konoha, Kakashi Hatake is one of the top Anbu agents of Konoha, which is why he was sent by the Hokage to investigate what made impact a few miles away. When he arrived to the area, he could see a huge crater, but what was more shocking was the huge hammer in the center. He pulled out a square device and held it up to his ear. "Hokage-sama, I found something." Back in Konoha, Sasuke was beginning to enjoy the company of Team 8, even though he didn't want to be here. However, he was starting to see that there were more immortals than he originally thought. So Sasuke, Kiba started. Where are you from? Asgard, Sasuke stated while continuing to eat his 7th plate of food. Asgard? Kiba asked. It is a mythological city, Shino stated. What do you speak of when you say that word, mythological? Sasuke asked. I am stating the fact that the city does not exist, the Aburame answered. Are you saying that my home world does not exist? Maybe Sasuke spoke too soon. I meant no disrespect, Sasuke-san, Shino apologized. It is all right, friend Shino, Sasuke stated. A couple of civilians came into the restaurant laughing about things unknown to people around them. Hey, one of the civilians spoke to a member of the wait staff. You missed a lot of excitement down at the crater. Yeah, the other continued, until some ninjas showed up and ruined the fun. What is it that the ninjas would be interested in it? The waitress asked. A very heavy hammer, no one could lift it, the first civilian stated. This caught Sasuke's attention. He got up and went over to the two civilians. You two. Where is this hammer you speak of? Few miles just outside of Konoha, the civilian stated. Thank you, Sasuke stated, then made his way out of the restaurant. Hinata got up to go after him. Wait, Sasuke-kun. Where are you going? Hinata called. To this hammer, it is not an ordinary hammer, Sasuke stated. I don't understand, Hinata said confused. Kiba and Shino caught up to their teammate. Tis an enchanted hammer named Mjolnir. It was once a weapon wielded by my father. If it is here, then it must mean that father trusts me with it. Would you like to come see? Hinata didn't know what to say, but Kiba had something. Maya, what's Maya? He asked. Shino went up to Hinata. Hinata, could I talk to you for a moment? Hinata went over to the side with Shino. I do not think you should trust this guy, he stated. He's talking about Asgard and enchanted hammers. He's unstable. But Shino, he needs help, Hinata stated. I don't want to see you get hurt, he finished. Hinata seemed to consider this. She then turned to Sasuke with a sad look. I am sorry, I can't go with you. Then this is where we must part. Lady Hinata, he nodded to the girl, friend Shino, friend Kiba, and Akamaru. The dog barked back at him, farewell. He then began to walk off towards where he thought the gates of Konoha might be. Hinata had a look of turmoil on her features, which is why she called out to the tall boy. Wait, she ran to catch up to him. You might need help finding, She trailed off, forgetting the name of the hammer. Mjolnir, Sasuke supplied, with a smirk. Right, you may need help finding it, she replied, barely controlling a blush, as well as her speech. Sasuke smirked. He allowed the girl to show him the way to where the enchanted hammer might be. The crater outside of Konoha, a tall man with wild silver hair, stood by a few other men who were examining a large hammer. Well, have you seen anything like this before? Kakashi asked one of the men, who wore a similar outfit to his, armor covering their chest, but no sleeves. Even the turtleneck-like shirt had no sleeves, black pants similar to their shirt, black boots upon their feet. They each had black fingerless gloves, and a service pistol attached to their sides, as well as the standard weapons pouch upon their hips. The man he was talking to shook his head. No, this is something that I have never seen before. The man with silver hair nodded. He then put his finger to his right ear. Go. Sir, we got a perimeter. Seems that a couple of genin are approaching the crater site. A crackling voice sounded in his ear. Send in Agent Hyuga, the silver-haired man stated. Hawkeye, sir? But he's new and young, the voice in the ear stated. And he could use the experience, the silver-haired leader stated. Yes, sir. With that the voice stopped. Are we closed, Lady Hinata? Sasuke asked as they made their way through the forest. We are close, she then gasped. A figure dropped out of the treetops. He appeared to be about the same height as Sasuke, but no the same build, a black vest over his torso, leaving his arms bare, a purple H upon the garment. Only it looked as though it took up a good portion of the vest, black pants, as well as black boots. Long black hair whipped around his head in the wind. Upon his back was a quiver filled with arrows. He had one strung through his bow and aimed at the two. White pearl-like eyes studied them for a moment. Lady Hinata, what are you doing here? The figure asked. Neji? I could ask you the same thing, she countered. I am part of Anbu now. He then noticed Sasuke. When he did, he aimed an arrow at the boy. More importantly, who is this? This is Sasuke-kun. Neji, I thought you only graduated last year? Hinata asked the question that was bothering her. He never lowered his bow. I told you it's not important. You two need to leave this area now. I cannot do that, friend Neji. I need to acquire something that hath landed here, Sasuke stated, showing no fear of having an arrow in his face. Only she may call me Neji. You can call me Hawkeye. His bow still did not lower. Once Anbu is done here, I am sure you can have whatever it is you need. Until then, leave this area. Sasuke and Neji glared at one another, neither backing down from the other. Neji let a smirk appear. I am starting to like this guy. Be a shame if I had to dispose of him. Sasuke allowed a smirk too, only he was thinking of plans involving him coming back later popping into his mind. Very well, friend Hawkeye, we shall leave. With that, the black hair with blonde streaks boy left, Hinata soon following behind. When they were gone, Neji put his hand up to his left ear. This is Hawkeye, perimeter secured. Good job, Agent Hyuga, came the voice of his commander. Outside of Konoha, a figure walked along the road leading to the huge city-like village. Not much could be seen, for he wore a light brown cloak. Upon his head was a straw hat pulled down, hiding his face. You could barely see light green hair coming down his neck. The other thing you'd noticed would be the strange umbrella on his back. You could see a smirk upon his features as he neared the village. Back in Konoha, I am sorry we couldn't get your hammer, Sasuke-kun, Hinata stated. "'Tis all right, Lady Hinata, I shall try again at another time," Sasuke stated. "Please be careful, if Neji is there I am afraid one or both of you will get hurt," she stated. Sasuke's features softened. No one, other than those of Asgard, have shown such concern for him, so to have this from a mortal was a new feeling to him. It was as though he had a strong feeling to protect her and the ones she loves. He didn't know what to say, other than, "Thank you." Even though the phrase made the girl's cheeks glow red, he still felt like those words weren't enough. They were soon approached by Hinata's teammates. "Guys, we got a problem," Kiba stated. "What is it, Kiba?" Hinata asked. "I don't know much, just that some highly skilled ninja started to slaughter some Jonin," the boy stated. "Wait, what about Kurenai-sensei?" Hinata asked, worried. Sasuke could sense the worry in the girl's voice. "She's fighting him now. She told us to find you and get to safety," Shino answered. "Where is this fight taking place?" Sasuke asked. Just about a mile that way." Kiba pointed to the direction that he and Shino came from. Before he could ask why, the taller boy took off to that direction. "Sasuke-kun. Wait." Hinata ran after the boy. "Wait, Kurenai-sensei told us to get to safety." Kiba's shout went on deaf ears. "Come, they may need assistance," Shino stated, going the same way as the other two. "Why doesn't anyone listen to me, Akamaru?" He looked to his puppy, only to see him not there. "Akamaru." He heard a bark and could see the white dog chasing after Shino. Kiba let out a defeated sigh, then went after the group. "Why have you returned? You traitor?" Kurenai questioned the green-haired man she was fighting. All around her were several Konoha ninja, all having senbon needles wedged into their bodies. "Ah, you mean you haven't missed me? Kurenai-chan, I am hurt," the man said, faking a tear fall. "Don't you dare call me that, you traitor. You stole relics and blamed it all on an innocent child," Kurenai spat out. "All that has yet to be proven, but since you won't be around long, I guess I can tell you my mission." He then took out a black handle that was weirdly designed. He then activated the handle, and a yellow lightning blade soon appeared. "That's..." Kurenai stared on in shock. "Yes, the Raijin no Ken, the weapon of the Nidaime Hokage," he stated proudly. "A weapon I came across." He smirked. "Know as to why I am here. I was sent to retrieve a very special scroll, for a very high price." "What scroll are you talking about?" Kurenai questioned. Now Kuri-chan, don't be greedy," the ninja stated. He did not realize that he was in a genjutsu for a while, but when he did he dispelled it, just in time too. He was narrowly able to escape an attack from the genjutsu mistress. He was able to catch her with the sword, and send some electricity through the kunoichi. She cried out in pain, then was kicked away by the wielder of the lightning sword. "Kurenai-sensei," called out a female voice. Soon a girl with short dark blue hair, and pupilless white eyes. Next to her was a tall boy, with black hair that had blonde streaks. His black eyes stared daggers at the ninja. "Who be you, villain?" the boy said, talking rather strangely. "I am Aoi Rokusho," the man did a mock bow. "I shall also be your executioner, if you stick around." "Why have you attacked these people?" Sasuke asked the man before him, not liking the scene. "They got in my way, and you will share their fate, if you don't leave," the man pointed his blade at Sasuke. "Vile villain." Sasuke ran for the man, only for him to get slapped by the sword and hit by a low-level lightning attack. "Next time, I won't hold the power back." The man began to walk off towards the Kokage Tower. "I will not," Sasuke gritted out, trying to get to his feet. "I will not allow you to get away with causing harm to these innocents." He finally got to his feet. Asgard. Thor watched the image of his son being struck with the sword. When he heard the boy's declaration, he knew his son would soon the very lesson he sent him there to learn. He tried to fight the Odin sleep, for he wanted to watch over his son a bit more. "Back in Konoha, if you have a death wish, then I'd be glad to grant it for you." Aoi stated when he saw Sasuke get up.
Sasuke-kun, Hinata ran up to the boy. Lady Hinata, please get to safety, get these others to safety as well, he motioned to the ninja around them.
I won't leave you, she stated, not wanting to move. Please get her away from here, he looked to the girl's teammates, who soon arrived.
What are you going to do? Kiba asked. Protect these people, he motioned to the civilians around them.
If you go against him, then hell kill you, you have no ninja training, Kiba stated. I've got no plans to die today, Sasuke stated. He then ran to the ninja, just as the sword was about to hit. The boy dodged. He struck the ninja in the gut, sending the breath out of him.
He staggered back. You won't get away with that. And I shall not allow you to harm another innocent. I will stop you here and now. He made for the ninja again. Dodging the strike from the blade, he struck again, this time in the ninja's ribs, but Aoi was able to backhand Sasuke away from him. He grabbed at his now hurting side.
You're going to regret doing that. He threw a volley of needles at the son of Thor. He managed to dodge some, but others embedded deep into his arms and legs. He grunted in pain as he fell to his knees. I shall let you finish me off, so long as you leave these people in peace. Please, do not harm anyone else, Sasuke pleaded.
You're begging. If you're going to beg, at least beg for your life. He approached the kneeling boy. I'll be glad to end your life. Then I try out your little girlfriend over there. Sasuke couldn't move. If he could, he would strike down the man before him. Farewell. He struck the boy with the lightning sword, causing him to cry out in pain. The full force of the lightning being sent through him, he was kicked away by the enemy ninja.
Sasuke-kun. Hinata cried out, running to the down boy. The ninja began to make his way to the Hokage tower once again. It's over, Sasuke managed out, looking to Hinata.
No, it's not over, Hinata said, not wanting to lose him. No, you are safe, it's over, he stated. Tears began to come to the girl's eyes. Asgard. When his son begged for the lives of the mortals, that is when he knew that Sasuke had truly learned his lesson. A sense of pride was welling up within the All-Father. Before the Odin sleep consumed him, a tear went down his cheek from his left eye. The crater outside of Konoha. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. What's going on? Kakashi asked. He could see the hammer begin to vibrate. Then an energy pulse sent himself and the ninja around the hammer flying. The Anbu agent watched as the hammer flew into the air, then made its way towards Konoha. Konoha. Shino could see something heading towards the down boy and his teammate. He didn't know what it was, but it was coming in fast. The bug user then ran to Hinata, who was trying to get the boy to wake up. Hinata, we gotta get out of here. He pulled the girl away from the down boy. No, I won't leave him. She struggled, trying in vain to get out of the boy's grasp. She stopped when she heard a loud noise echo in the air. She could see a large hammer heading straight for Sasuke. She grew worried. Sasuke-kun. Just before the hammer hit, Sasuke's arm shot up, catching the hammer within his hand. As soon as he did, a lightning bolt came from nowhere and struck the hammer. Sasuke's eyes shot open, as a tornado began to form around him. Storm clouds gathered and lightning was being shot into the funnel cloud.
Aoi turned back. He watched in shock as the boy, who he was sure was dead, rise up.
Metal-like scales began to fly onto Sasuke's arms. EU forearm guards appeared as well. A new armor vest appeared onto his upper torso. Attached to it was a long flowing red cape. Upon his lower body was brown pants tucked into black boots. When the cloud died down, all could see the now different Sasuke. His hair was now a perfect mix of black and blonde, but it still had its length. Oh, my God, Hinata stated, not believing her eyes. Sasuke pointed Mjolnir at the ninja, his now electric blue eyes glaring at the man. While his black and blonde hair waved in the wind, prepare thyself, villain, for you hath incurred the wrath of Sasuke Thorson. The man only glared back at the tall boy. Sasuke then threw his hammer at the man. He blocked it with the sword, but the impact was too much for him to withstand, so he was sent into the side of a nearby building. The hammer floated in the air, but then came back to its new master. You like lightning, do you? Sasuke asked, then sent a bolt of lightning from his hammer to the now recovering man. Sasuke approached him, his hammer down at his side. Leave now, while you still stand. If they attack me again, I shall show no more mercy. Screw off. Aoi ran the best he could for the hammer wielder. He made to strike him once again with the lightning sword. Sasuke held his hammer up, blocking the attack. The man was shocked when he saw the lightning from his blade begin to be absorbed by the hammer. Sasuke kicked the shocked man away. Then he began to twirl the hammer over his head. This caused him to rise up slowly and a tornado to form around him. Aoi was sucked up into the cloud. So be it. He held the hammer up to the sky, while still floating. For the crimes you hath committed, you shall feel my wrath, the wrath of Thor. Lightning struck the hammer, then it was sent to the green-haired ninja. Aoi cried out in pain. He could feel every fiber of his being getting electrocuted. The electricity was stronger than anything the blade he once wielded could ever produce. He began to regret ever coming to this village. The charred body of Aoi landed hard on the ground below. Sasuke soon landed, only with more grace than the now dead Aoi. Hinata and her friends ran up to the tall boy. Is this how you normally look? She asked, in which Sasuke nodded. It's a good look, she said, getting a chuckle from the boy. Suddenly an image of a man in heavily golden armor appeared before them all. Sasuke Thorson, you are needed back in Asgard. Heimdall, does this mean that I am no longer banished? Sasuke asked. My prince, you were never banished, you were sent to Midgard to learn a lesson, and that you did, the man in the image stated, shocking the boy. Sasuke smiled. Thank you father. He then turned his attention to Heimdall. Why can I not stay here? Your father has gone into the Odin sleep, you are needed in Asgard, he stated. But Itachi is there, as are the warriors 3, Sasuke countered. That is not the only reason, your mother wishes you to come back as well, she states that you require more training to use your father's weapon. Heimdall answered the boy. Sasuke looked down, he knew he needed to train in combat with the hammer. At the same time, he didn't want to leave his friends, he didn't want to leave Hinata. After a moment he decided, very well, but may I say goodbye to my friends first? Heimdall nodded. You may, I shall open the Bifrost when you are ready, my prince. Sasuke turned to his new friends. I shall miss you all, but I will return. One day, Hinata came up to him. He stared into her eyes. I shall return. He kissed the top of her hand. Deal. She then did something that no one expected. She pulled Sasuke's face down to herself, then kissed him passionately on the lips. Sasuke returned the kiss with equal love and passion. When she broke the kiss, they were still close. Deal. Sasuke smirked. Hinata then stepped away from them. Tell Anbu that I shall be their ally. He then looked to the sky, and as he did a tornado came down and engulfed the boy. When it was clear, they could see that the boy was no longer there. Hinata looked up to the sky sadly, giving a silent plea to be safe to the boy. 3 weeks later, Makoto watched her son walk by her, heading towards where her husband stood. Her other son was by her side. She turned to him. How is he? He misses her, the mortal, Itachi stated, speaking of the Hyuga girl. Sasuke walked up to stand next to his father. I realize now that I have much to learn. His father nodded slightly, and perhaps, one day I shall make you proud. This caused Thor to smile. He turned and laid a hand upon the boy's shoulder. You've already made me proud. With that said, the All-Father walked off. Sasuke made his way across the Rainbow Bridge. He had something to ask Heimdall. He walked up to the guardian of the Bifrost, and stood next to the taller man. Can you see her? The guardian chuckled. Yes. How is she? Sasuke asked. She searches for you. This caused the boy to smile, as he looked up to the starry sky. 10 years later, Jiraiya made his way through the long corridors of the facility he was in. When he made it to the end he could see that the Hokage was standing there. Sensei. Why did you call me to this place? Jiraiya, there is something that we need a seal master for, the old Hokage stated. Jiraiya chuckled. Word is you just got a seal master off ice, why don't you get him? This is something that we can't tell him about yet. The Hokage moved out of the way to show a large scroll.
Is that? Jiraiya pointed to the scroll in question. Yes, it's the Forbidden Scroll, the one that the Shoden, the Naidame, and Naruto Uzumaki wrote. The council is wanting you to study it, the Hokage explained. Why? All there is in here are a bunch of jutsus that no one is allowed to use, Jiraiya stated. It was brought to our attention that there is something more to this scroll than just jutsus, the Sudaime spoke. What do you mean? His ex-student asked. See for yourself. Jiraiya opened the scroll. He studied the first few jutsus. At first he didn't see anything, but when he started to look for something, he saw a pattern to all the jutsus in the scroll. I guess this is worth a look. He flipped out the scroll and began to study all the jutsus. Thanks for watching.